Hello, I'm Donna Williams. I'm going to read you some excerpts from my first book, which is called Nobody Nowhere. So, hope you enjoy it. I remember my first dream, or at least it was the first one that I can remember. I was moving through white. There were no objects, just white. And there were these bright spots of fluffy colour surrounding me everywhere. And I passed through them, and they passed through me. And it was the sort of thing that made me laugh. And this dream came before any others with shit or people or monsters in them, and certainly before I never noticed there was a difference between the three. I must have been less than 3 years old, and this dream depicted the nature of my world at that time. Awake, I pursued that dream relentlessly, and I'd face the light shining through the window next to my cot and rub my eyes furiously, and there they were, the fluffy, bright colours moving through white. Stop that, came the intrusive garble, and I'd continue merrily. Slap. I discovered the air was full of spots, and if you looked into the nothingness, there were spots. People would walk by, obstructing my magical view of the nothingness. And I'd get past them, and they'd garble. My attention be firmly set on my desire to lose myself in the spots, and I'd ignore the garble, looking straight through this obstruction, with a calm expression that was soothed by being lost in the spots. Slap. I was learning about the world. I eventually learned that I could lose myself in anything I desired. The patterns on the wallpaper, the patterns on the carpet, the sound of something over and over again, the repetitive hollow sound that I get from tapping my chin. Even people became no problem. Their words became this mumbling jumble. Their voices were a pattern of sounds, and I could look through them until I wasn't there. And then, later, I felt I had lost myself in them. Words were no problem, but other people's expectations for me to respond to them were, and this required my understanding of what was said, and I was too happy losing myself to want to be dragged back by something as two-dimensional as understanding. "What do you think you're doing?" came the voice. Knowing I have to respond to get rid of this annoyance, I'd compromise, repeating, "What do you think you're doing?" addressed to no one in particular. "Don't repeat everything I say," scolded the voice. Sensing a need to respond, I'd replied, "Don't repeat everything I say." Slap. I had no idea what was expected of me. For the first 3.5 years of my life, this was my language, complete with the intonation and inflection of those I came to think of as the world. And the world seemed to be impatient, annoying, callous and unrelenting. I learned to respond to it as such, crying, squealing, ignoring, running away. On one occasion, instead of simply hearing a particular sentence, I truly understand it because it had significance. I was 3.5. My parents were visiting friends, and I was standing in the hall outside the lounge. I was giving myself whizzies, arms outstretched, spinning round and round and round. I had this vague recollection there were other children there, but the topic of conversation in the lounge was disturbing and embarrassing me. A question was being asked about my toilet training, and my mother replied I was still wetting myself. I don't know whether this had done the trick, but I became more aware of needing to go to the toilet. I certainly had a great fear of going to the toilet at this time, and I'd hold on for what seemed like forever, and then I'd go just before I did it on the spot. Sometimes I'd hold on for several days until I was so constipated I'd vomit up bile, and then I became afraid of eating food too. So I'd only eat things like custard and jelly, baby food, fruit, lettuce leaves, honey, and white pieces of bread with multicoloured hundreds and thousands sprinkled on the top, like in my dream. In fact, I ate things that had the look and feel of things that had nice associations for me, and I did this much more than anything else. Rabbits ate lettuce, so I loved rabbits, so I ate lettuce. I loved the see-through coloured glass. Jelly was like that, so I loved jelly. Like other children, I ate dirt and flowers and grass and bits of plastic, But unlike other children, I still ate the flowers, the grass, the bark, and the plastic when I was 13 years old. The old rules applied. If I liked them, I'd try to lose myself in my fascination for them, because things, unlike people, were welcome to be a part of me. When I was about 3, I had the signs of malnutrition. I was blue, I'd bruise at the slightest touch, my eyelashes would be coming out in large quantities, and my gums bled. My parents thought I had leukemia and they took me for a blood test. The doctor got some blood from my earlobe and I cooperated. I was intrigued by this multicoloured cardboard wheel the doctor had given me. And I also had hearing tests because although I mimicked everything, it appeared I was deaf. My parents would stand behind me and make these loud noises without so much as a blink response. The world was not getting in. I thought I felt a whisper through my soul. Everything is nothing, and nothing is everything. Death in life, and life in death of falsity. The more I became aware of the world, the more I became afraid, and other people were my enemies. And reaching out to me was their weapon, with only a few exceptions. My grandparents, my father, and my Auntie Linda. I still remember the smell of my grandmother. She wore chains around her neck. She was soft and wrinkly, and she wore knitted things that I could put my fingers through. She had a husky laughing voice, and she smelled of camphor. I'd take the camphor off the shelves at the supermarket, and 20 years later I bought bottle upon bottle of eucalyptus oil and spread it round the room, corner to corner, to keep out everything except for that comforting feeling that those associations gave me. I collected scraps of wool and little crochet bits, and I put my fingers through them so that I could fall asleep securely. For me, the people I liked were their things. And those things, or things like them, were my protection from the things that I didn't like, other people. The habits I adopted of keeping and manipulating these symbols were my equivalent of magic spells cast against the nasties who'd invade me if I lost them or had them taken away. They were not caused by insanity or hallucination, but simply through the harmless imagination made potent by my overwhelming fear of vulnerability. My grandfather fed me sultanas and biscuits, piece by piece. He made up special names for everything. He sure knew his audience. He understood my world and was able to make me fascinated with his. He had these little liquid mercury balls that he'd splatter into tiny balls and make them chase each other. He had 2 minute magnetized Scotty dogs which he'd make chase each other. And this sort of chasing was safe. Communication via objects was safe. Special names for everything so that it was our little world, that was safe. And every morning whilst it was still semi-dark, I'd go out into the shed in which he lived. And one day I went out there and he didn't notice me. His face was purple and blotchy, and he was laying on his side. Pop never woke up again, and I never forgave him for doing this until I was 21. And then it suddenly dawned on me that people don't intentionally mean to die. And then I cried, and I cried, and I cried some more. It had taken me 16 years.